Hey, Arrow was great this week. Flash wasn't, and Supergirl was. It just simply
Supergirl
was.
existed.
It wasn't good or bad.
It's a thing.
I mean,
It's on TV.
as I'll say many times in this episode, compared to Supergirl up until this point, this episode was amazing. Compared to how bad it's been this season. So,
I don't know. The acting of Porn Sauron is...
I just can't get over how Power Rangers it looks right now, and I'm not saying that in a redeeming way. It looks like it's like a bunch of Power Rangers villains running around.
You mean you're not really into color contacts?
No.
Because I feel like that's 90% of their special effects budget on that show at this point.
Yeah.
Well, it looks Mon-El's super suit looks like they just took the super suit they gave Clark and just took the details off of it and called it a day.
It looks velour.
Yeah, and then everybody else just has the leather jackets.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so it's being very Smallville?
Actually, Flash is being more Smallville than anybody else right now because everybody on Flash has a fucking leather coat.
Oh,
and then I
man.
looked at Barry's new suit recently. I'm like, that's just a jacket. All it is.
You mean you didn't like Alex becoming Black Widow?
Oh yeah, she kind of became Black Widow.
Especially because they keep dyeing her hair more and more, slightly more and more red.
I mean,
This is very true.
yeah.
It's very subtle, but it's definitely been... It started off more brunette, and now it's slightly into the... We're getting into the Black Widow red. It's not vibrant. It's like a kind of darker... This is ridiculous. Why are we talking about her hair color?
Yeah. Who's here? I'm Connor. I'm here. Who else is here?
Arlen, here, as usual.
And I'm Lou, and sometimes I talk in a British accent, except when I want to hide. And then I turn into a nice southern a nice southern lady when I want to hide in an underground casino. And you can tell by that my southern accent's awesome.
I'm gonna get to how angry Katie Sackhoff has made me this week.
Where is she from? And no matter where it is, that it's still a terrible accent.
Well, she's kind of I want to say a C or B list actress who most people like.
Oh, no.
She's in Battlestar Galactica and stuff.
Yeah, no, I don't mean by where is she from as a show. I mean, where in the world is Katie Sackhoff from? Like Carmen Sandiego.
Portland. So,
three-man show tonight. We're going to talk about Arrow first because it was easily the best episode of the week.
yes,
Absolutely.
accurate.
I mean,
Far and away, actual stakes and stuff, and this kind of the tension and action didn't really stop.
Yeah.
it was a very good pet because there's only one episode left, right?
Yeah.
No, there's 3 left of Flash and Arrow. Last I checked, because they have the same season length this year.
Yeah, I thought there was only 1 or 2 left.
I might be wrong about that. I know Flash has 3 left.
There is one big problem I have with Arrow, and it's the last scene. So whenever we get there,
I can't remember what it is, but I do remember feeling like, that's not great. Okay, it's 2 left of Flash, and I'm looking at Arrow right now, or about to.
You don't remember Fandra Fallers, the fake Amanda Waller?
Oh, I Am Your Green Arrow? Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's it's bothering me so much because that's absolutely what they're doing with that character. We're not allowed to do Amanda Waller, so we'll just have another sassy black woman playing a government character and just call her Agent, I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Well, it's because in season 4, the worst season of Arrow ever, they decided to kill off Amanda Waller.
No, they didn't.
That was a smart decision.
They were told to kill her off.
Well, yes, because Suicide
Warner
Squad.
Brothers.
Worth it, guys. So totally worth it, right? Yeah. And also, you're correct.
I hope
There's
that
one
long
left.
sigh was very audible.
Yeah.
Oh, it was. Shit.
Yeah,
I lost my train of thought.
We are in the end. We are in the end game now with Arrow.
Yeah.
This is the penultimate episode, actually. And I do want to talk about the previous 2 episodes just a little bit, specifically the courtroom episode.
I hardly remember it. I may not even watched it.
I knew it.
Do you remember the Human Target showing up?
No.
Yes.
Okay.
He did his once a season appearance, which is perfect.
Yes.
AKA, it's also Simpson from Jessica Jones.
He shows up as
Tommy
Merlin. in the Green Arrow costume.
My biggest problem with this was they showed Tommy on the previews.
I didn't see the previews at all.
Yeah,
so...
they showed Tommy on the previews, and I was like, oh, so it's obviously Human Target.
They advertised him coming back.
Yeah, I didn't see any of this. I didn't realize Tommy was coming back till like after it aired, and I saw like a review. Like I didn't watch the review, but I saw like the thumbnail for a review. That's when I learned he was back.
It was literally on next week, and then they showed Tommy like pulling the hood back, and I was like, that's awesome.
They don't show that in the digital version on like the Roku apps. They don't show you the trailers for next week at all.
It depends. Sometimes I watch on the CW app, and sometimes I just watch on like my DirecTV on demand.
Right.
And one of them gives previews, and one of them doesn't. I don't remember, but whichever one did, that was like the end of like the next week. It was literally him pulling the hood back. I was like, oh, it's Tommy. But he's dead, so either they got they got like Earth 2 Tommy for whatever reason, but more likely is Human Target.
Yeah, I assumed it was Human Target the moment he started talking.
But I did not see the ending of it with the judge. That was such a good move.
That was pretty good. The judge, that was a good twist, and I did like that he kills the judge at the end. Connor, I can't believe you didn't watch this episode, but that episode was really
totally
good
blanked.
too.
And it's to echo Eric's sentiment, like the CW stuff that we have after Black Lightning ended just made me very less than diligent to get around to watching it.
Yeah,
and I feel bad. I feel bad for Arrow because Arrow really hasn't been on the shit end of this whole block.
Yeah. Well, and not just this episode. The episode before was actually really good too.
Yeah, like after Dragon's origin, it got really good. Like the last two episodes were really strong. I watched them back to back also.
Because Oliver let himself get captured, and then he was kind of sowing the seeds for what's his name, the Russian, your favorite character.
Anatoly. The honorable man.
Although I was very annoyed at Oliver's terrible rear naked choke technique. You do not want to put your body off to the side. You have no leverage, and he just left himself open to get stabbed.
That's actually way back when I was hanging out with pro wrestlers. If you applied a headlock on someone and you left the whole side of your body open, you get fucking suplexed, and they wouldn't tell you.
Yeah, it's terrible technique. As someone who's a big MMA fan, it's like, oh, you gotta lock up the body. Like, has no leverage. And then he just gets stabbed, which they kind of called back to, I guess, in this episode, this week. Because that's what happens to, what's his name?
Curtis.
Right.
Curtis. I wish I could his name.
In a really bad exchange of dialogue.
So let's talk about Curtis gets owned, and here's the thing. I'm only okay with it because he's the character who would get owned. Like,
isn't he supposed to be an Olympic athlete?
Yeah, but he's not a fighter necessarily. Like, he wasn't like he's not a wrestler or anything. Like, if he was,
I think he's a triathlon star.
I think it'd be cool as shit if he was a wrestler, just him slamming people.
If they said that he was like a Greco-Roman wrestler, that would be one thing. But
Oliver knows a ton of wrestling moves too.
Yeah, but like Curtis I think he's a decathlete. I think.
Yeah, he's like track swimming.
Oh, the decathlete.
Yeah, it's like track swimming. Yeah.
So it's endurance stuff, but it's not necessarily like going toe to toe with somebody.
It doesn't mean you can take or throw a punch.
Uh-huh.
The whole
and he gets double legged and just like fucking punched in the face and stabbed, and then Diaz is like, bye.
I love that.
The only reason to do that whole sequence is to have him have the conversation with Diana and be like, no, I know how you feel, to kind of like wash away her craziness over this entire season.
Yeah, so this episode is kind of a reset, which is part of why I also loved it. Like Dinah is reset to her like beginning of this season, Dinah, in a weird way, which I'm okay with. Like, I like that when Diaz comes after her, she smiles because she expected it. She was.
I also like how she used her powers.
Yeah, that was really
I was like,
cool.
oh, actually expanding on her sound wave stuff, especially
having a meta on their team is really handy, because she just like most situations they get in, it's like, all right, Dinah, go yell at him.
Yeah,
you just gave me talking about her. Just gave me a flashback to 2 or 3 weeks ago, Flash, and now with Black Siren X, because that's a complicated name.
I noticed while watching that episode that the more you show that silly sonic effect, and the longer you have it on, it looks dumb as shit.
Oh, you mean that they're not going to use it on 3 different shows in the same week?
It looks like she's just breathing water at them. Like,
oh, I feel like they created a special effect and like, all right, cool, we have this for Arrow. Yeah. Wait, how do we get this on Flash and Supergirl at the same time?
It's also the same exact sound effect. There's no change.
Yeah, I will. I mean, we'll get to this in the Supergirl episode. The way they used it in that episode, I really enjoyed the way that they used it.
Especially with the ending, I did as well. But it's just how many supersonic voice people can we have?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like Supergirl has had Banshee in season 1, so.
Well, I felt okay for that woman because she went on to a big show, but then that show just got canceled this week.
Yeah.
And if you didn't know, she's also married to Robbie Amell.
Oh wow, small world. Anyways, I don't know. This Arrow episode is great. It's relentless. The action is really strong, like all Arrow episodes, but it adds to the story. I
like that we don't see Laurel too. Like that she's like not there.
She's been fridged, and I'm okay with it.
But we don't know. You don't know that. You know he's like heard about it, but like he didn't kill her on screen. He's killed everybody else on screen. He lit a dude on fire.
Well, I mean, she's been put in a corner, in a closet, so to speak.
I feel like she has to come back because they have to have the Sarah versus Laurel two or team up of those two.
No, here's what's going to happen because Paul Blackthorne has been very vocal about the fact that he's leaving the show. So Quentin is totally dying in the finale, and I think Sarah is going to come back to kind of make peace with that and probably have a powwow with new Laurel.
Yeah, he's going to.
I was really hoping that this season would end with Sarah showing up and like scruffing Laurel by the neck and just throwing her off the show.
I would be into that. She throws her into the time stream.
The worst part of this is that no matter how bad she is as Laurel 2, she's still better than Laurel 1.
I mean, that's a strong statement.
I hated Laurel 1. Laurel 1
okay, you have to be specific, though. Every season, because the problem with Laurel 1 is every season she's a different character.
Okay, when she became Black Canary, she took one Tybo class and decided she would be a superhero.
No, I completely agree with that. I 100% agree with that. My favorite Laurel is hard-ass DA Laurel. I'll even prosecute my friends because it's my job. That's
I don't think Katie Cassidy's that good of an actress. That's really what it boils down to.
I agree.
I think it's more like back in the early seasons when the women on the shows actually had jobs.
Yeah.
Laurel was a DA. Iris was actually writing stuff, and
she was an assistant DA in the first season, though. That's the thing. I like when she became like one of the most powerful people in the city at a certain point.
Felicity's really of those two shows. Felicity's the only one that's kind of. And what's Diggle's wife's name?
Lila.
Lila. Those are the only two women that have kind of like grown. Amongst the shows.
I fucking love Lila. I was a bad bitch. Like,
she's the best.
Well, they turned Lila's like a surrogate Amanda Waller sometimes, except she's nice.
Yeah, she's pretty great.
It's amazing to me how many people you come across the internet who are still like, oh, Felicity's terrible. I haven't watched in 3 years. I'm like,
because I really know
she's actually changed quite a bit.
Yeah,
her courtroom scene was great too in that episode.
Yeah,
it was like, oh, isn't your father the calculator? And she's like, yeah. It's like, have you ever done anything legal? And her response is like, prove it, because she knows like they can't. And I can't. Who is that lawyer I've seen in a million things? I couldn't put my name my finger on it.
I couldn't put any fingers on her either. Actually, she was a mystery to me.
She looked really familiar. She must be just like one of those character actresses.
Yeah, one of those Canadian regulars that you throw in.
One of the CW rotators.
Yeah, just one of those people.
I'm still confused of like the Jean Laurie thing. I'm like, okay, we're gonna keep this going, but why? Like, why do we need to have the same lawyer? Like, all right, I remember season 1 because it was like, ooh, it's a tease to the Atom. But we have the Atom, and she has zero connection to him. So I don't understand why we still parade out Jean Laurie.
Do you mean the doctor? I don't actually know.
The lawyer.
Oh. Jean Lori.
I don't know who this is.
Jean Lori in the books is Adam's wife, who is in Identity.
Oh,
just because why would you get rid of her? Because she's Oliver's lawyer. That's
Yeah, but you can always have another lawyer. Like it's
she's
almost
the one who the one who killed Sue Dibney in Identity Crisis,
yes,
isn't she?
Yeah.
I like the consistency though. Like I like the fact that Reza came back. Like there's something about that makes me feel good. I like that Dr. Schwartz is the doctor.
I love Reza in it and the doctor. It's just weird that's like, all right, I guess they wrote her in that she was Moira's friend. But at this point, like, she was kind of just, the name was put there to be connected to Adam, but then they actually made the Adam. So I just don't get the point.
I don't think they care about the name. I think you're getting caught up on the name.
Yeah, I think it's just a character they have decided not to.
I know.
They have a lot of loose thread characters that hang around.
Maybe I've been hanging out with Alan too much on Skype.
I think you have.
It's just like I guess maybe only because she's connected to such like a big comic book story that I'm like I would.
Is the Dr. Schwartz character pre-existing? Because I'm sure that you could have the same thing for her. So
I guess. I don't know if she is, but I guess Jean Lori because like I know that story,
right?
And she's such a big part of the kind of mythos.
Well, we've also seen how CW handles big comic arcs.
Yeah.
In that they don't do it very well.
No, but sometimes like they do the crossovers each time better and better.
Oh well, the crossovers are different. That's like the whole family getting together for a big fucking powwow, and it's always fun. But when they do stuff like Flashpoint or Flash Rebirth, it's wrapped up in a single episode, and it's bad.
Yeah, but you've also named one show.
Has Arrow even done anything really from the comics except rip off Batman arcs?
No, they've taken arcs from the comics a couple times.
Oliver as mayor was like a big arc in the comics.
Yeah, it was.
And they've done a pretty decent job dealing with him, like the investigation if he's Green Arrow. And if they actually out him at the end of the season, I think that would be an interesting way to deal with next season.
Yeah, that would be.
Well, at this point, like it's such a long time coming, like. The amount of people who know at this point is staggering, and I'm surprised this hasn't happened sooner.
He's not as bad as Barry, where it's like, all right, I don't have time for you to learn to trust me. Here's my face.
It's not, you mean it's not as bad as Barry, where now his villains have gotten to the point where you're like, wait, I know you.
It's like, Crunky, I can tell you're that fast boy from that prison.
We'll get to that.
I thought the opening of this episode was amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking
also
great.
Like I don't ever really give Stephen Amell acting credit because he just kind of does what he does. But I thought his acting this episode was interesting because like while everyone's having a powwow and trying to figure something out, he's just off in the corner with his arms crossed, like pacing because he doesn't know what to do with himself because it's like his brain is a mess, like his confidence is shattered, and he's like, yeah, any plan I can come up with right now is probably ineffective.
Yeah.
I actually really liked his scene with Diggle when he's like, I thought about what you said, and you're right, and I'm trying to do things different.
Yeah, actually, and towards the end of last season, when fucking Adrian Chase broke Oliver down, that was also some really good stuff too. Mm-hmm. So I think when they finally show like kinks in his armor, he becomes really interesting.
Yeah, he's very like they always have him at brooding, but whenever he has to be like contemplative or sincere, he can do that. He's just not good at. At least we haven't seen him be good at any sort of levity.
I mean, I don't know. My favorite stuff is him and Barry drinking.
That comes out in crossover stuff because, like, when he showed up in at Earth X after fucking Supergirl and Flash land, he just rolls up on a motorcycle. He's like, "Okay, for the last time, I don't have super speed."
Yeah, that is true. Maybe it has to do more with the writing and directing, specifically on Arrow.
Probably. I mean, I thought him and the actor who plays Diggle, whose name I keep forgetting, I thought the two of them were fucking ripping the screen apart when they had that fight.
Yeah, they have great chemistry. Awesome. Actually, of all the different couples in any of the shows, Diggle and Oliver have the best chemistry.
Yep, Diggle and Oliver, abusive man couple going on.
And Felicity and Barry have the best chemistry.
Of anybody, Diggle and Oliver have been on camera the most because they're both episode 1.
Yeah. Yep.
I like the fact that Diaz is now just like, I'm Al Pacino now.
Oh yeah. I
He's
noticed
just gonna yell everything.
But I love when he like he's like, oh, you got something in your throat.
the slow rise to he's going full like late Pacino, like 88 minutes Pacino or whatever.
I just like how Diaz will just stab somebody just arbitrarily, like he just walks up, he's like poke.
But I also love that he's, as much as he does not want to be manipulated, he's so easily manipulated at the same time. You just have to poke at his like, oh, they want to put you under their thumb, they want to keep you on a leash, and anytime
he comes across as very collected and very kind of calculating, but then like once he gets a little bit of pressure, he starts to just like lose his cool all the time.
Yeah. I think this episode speaks a lot towards Anatoly and how helpful he can be in the right situation.
He's also, in a weird way, he himself is in a helpless situation.
Yeah,
because he's trapped in this thing where if he does anything, he knows that he is dead, and dead in a bad way.
I think that Diaz would risk killing Anatoly because I think he'd probably be afraid of what happens afterwards.
From who?
Is there Bratva members left?
He's not part of the Bratva anymore.
Does Anatoly have any allies left in Russia? I'd have to think he does.
No, that was like the whole point of the that was the episode with the loser leaves home match that Oliver went to Russia and did like a deal. That's what it was.
Yeah, but I mean, presumably there are still people in Russia who would want revenge. But
I think he said that they basically outed him. Like he's ousted, he's done.
Right.
And that's what. So
you can't kill Anatoly because a new one will rise out of the ashes that hit the floor.
I'm not saying that they should. I'm saying if Diaz did, like in the world of the show, that Anatoly can't do anything because he's kind of like he's screwed. He knows he can't do anything. That's why he keeps trying to help. That's what Oliver basically showed him in 3 episodes ago. That this guy doesn't care. He's a rabid animal that's trying to. He puts on this exterior, but like one little poke and he explodes.
Yeah.
I kind of want like Diaz to stab Anatoly, and then he just goes full Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen. He's like, I'm very disappointed in you. I'm very disappointed in you. Learning to resurrect myself was first trick Anatoly learned.
My thought is that
the honorable man.
He's gonna cut off Anatoly's arm or hand, and then we're gonna get to set up the future of like real KG Beast, where he has the gun hand.
Okay, I would be very into that.
Because KG Beast is preposterous, but like he has a gun hand, just like Barrett from Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah. Maybe we'll see that in the movies or not.
Actually, you can't even because KG Beast is dead in the DCEU continuity.
Well, I mean, is he though? Is he?
Batman blew his ass up.
Yeah, no, Batman. That's the thing. Batman, he didn't just kill him. He killed him times 3.
He cooked him alive.
Mm-hmm.
But
not to go off on that tangent, but like Batman has killed so many people in that sequence alone.
That's in BBS, right?
Yeah, when he goes in the warehouse sequence, like it's awesome to look at because I'm like he's fighting like Batman would fight in the Arkham games, and that's how I imagine Batman would fight, like complete control over the room. But then you watch it, and you're like, that guy is really like,
yeah.
The dude he smacks the crate and he hits the wall, and there's a visible blood smear that follows after him. The 2 assholes he throws into the hallway with a hand grenade, like. I'm sure the dude he chucked into a wall and got stuck there has got life-altering injuries.
Oh, and the unrated cut is even worse.
The unrated cut, he stabs someone. Like he implies he just stabs a dude to death off screen.
It's gruesome. Yeah.
And he snaps that dude's arm, and it's all up close, and there's some fucking red stuff, and yeah.
It just reminds me. Have either of you guys read White Knight?
Not yet.
No.
I'm gonna get around to it because it seems really interesting.
It's really good. The last issue just came out, and the last couple of panels, Batman and Gordon have a discussion, and it's very interesting with what you're just saying, like, because he kind of delves into like, I enjoy doing this, and I never realized that until now. And it's really cool.
I mean, I've always suspected.
Right.
Especially when you watch Batman. Batman Returns is the best when he fucking when he takes the bomb off he straps the dynamite to the guy's chest, smiles, and then punches him into a sewer and just walks away.
Yeah, that's the thing that happens.
The crazy bad grin.
He also massacres a shit ton of Emperor penguins, which I feel like
World
Wildlife Foundation and PETA would be really pissed about.
There's a really good video you can find. It's called Batman's on-screen body count. It just tallies up every person he's undoubtedly killed within every on-screen appearance.
Yeah.
My favorite thing still is though I can't remember who plays Batman in is it College Humor with Patton Oswalt as the Penguin?
Oh my God!
No, that's Pete Holmes.
It's Pete Holmes.
Pete Holmes, yeah.
Yeah,
like,
Patton Oswalt is the Penguin.
They're just sleeping.
And yeah, Batman doesn't understand the concept of death, and so he thinks that all these people he's killing, he's just sending to a happy farm.
My favorite is when he picks up the gun. He's like, "Oh my God, this thing's so cool!"
And he just shoots Penguin in the head.
Yes. It's not that he doesn't have a no gun policy. He's just never held a gun.
Gordon's like, Bruce, your parents are dead. He's like, no, they're not. They're on a farm making biscuits and butter. They're happy there. I've seen them.
So good.
Yeah, Arrow's been good. I'm excited. I don't think Diaz is going to die this season.
No, I don't think he will either.
I think he's been introduced too late in the game to just die.
At
this point, if he just loses in one episode after this, like, what is essentially a monumental moral victory, like, he's a punk.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, where can he go? Because if they're not allowed to do a Suicide Squad, like, what do you do with him?
I really don't know. I mean, Argus prison, maybe?
Well, they mentioned, so, like, Lian Yu's blown up, so that's gone.
Yeah. I mean,
where do you put Diaz that he can't do anything?
I think he just gets away.
I mean, technically, he did attack Argus agents, which makes him a national threat at this point.
He attacked the head of Argus.
Yeah.
That's what, what's her name is, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why that's why she goes in, because she's like, no one's going to question me walking into that building. I'm fucking hot shit. I run an entire government military
Yeah,
facility.
she's basically like, if they step at me, they're going to get crushed by the federal government.
Right. And by attacking her and her agents. That's the thing. Attacking her agents is more important than attacking her in a lone building. Them killing agents and taking a body count, that's an attack on the federal government.
The only thing, though, is if you think about how this episode comes to an end with Diaz, he basically takes over the Quadrant, which is kind of like if you've been reading the Green Arrow books, is a shitty version of, I can't remember what they call them, the Ninth Circle. And they basically
I like how he's like, I want to be in the Quadrant, and then every Quadrant member who shows up, he just kills him. He's like, I'm going to kill the Quadrant.
Well, he does not kill the black guy, because that would not play well.
Oh, not yet, anyway.
Yeah.
He keeps offing other people who show up, though.
Yeah. But, yeah.
I do have to say, there was, I mentioned it in chat earlier, the visual of Diaz getting blown down a staircase towards the end was, for some reason, hysterical.
Oh, it was ridiculous.
I don't understand how that happened or why, but it's pretty great.
Yeah.
My immediate thought was like, so he's dead?
Yeah.
Like, he gets standing in front of the wall that exploded.
He gets fucking launched like Channing Tatum does in the beginning of G.I. Joe 2. Like, just a fucking fireball in a body.
It's
one of the funniest on-screen deaths I've ever seen, because it comes out of nowhere.
I would have not been surprised if he like got up and was like Gus from Breaking Bad and was like fixing his tie, and then you just pan and he's just half a person.
Mm-hmm.
Spoilers for Breaking Bad. It's only been like 7 years.
Yeah, that show that's been out for a long time now.
Yeah.
I think the spin-off has been out for 5 seasons.
Yeah, I think so. Close to it.
Yeah, I think so. I can't believe that's still on. I'm like, how much farther can you take this concept?
This is the channel that has 2 Walking Dead shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, and apparently the spin-off is way better than the mainline show right now.
Yeah, that's what I've heard as well.
I've heard this season of Fear the Walking Dead is doing some really cool shit, so.
I just can't get into the zombie shows. I don't know why.
The only zombie show I like is Game of Thrones, because they do zombies in a way that makes me scared of them.
Yes, and we're only a couple months away, and you're ready to sit down every Sunday for almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
Wait, is that coming up soon?
No, it's still in 2019.
Oh, okay. I was like, what?
But it's like early 2019, like January.
It's like January, and they're saying it's 2 hours-ish, maybe plus per episode.
Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, it is very obvious that they are just rushing to the end of this because, like, I guess they have to. Also, we are never getting a Dance with Dragons, where the fuck it is, the next book in that story, because George R. R. Martin is absolutely 100% going to die before he finishes it, because the last book came out in 2010, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
I was still in high school.
The last book came out like right before, maybe like season 1 started.
I love seeing people because my friend Lisa's just discovering that show and like she's live reacting to it on Facebook. It's been the fucking best because I love if there's anything I love more than Game of Thrones, it's watching people watch Game of Thrones because you sit there and go, "Oh, I've been through this. I'm gonna see how you react." I got to see someone react to the Red Wedding in person in front of me at work, and it was the greatest day of my life because I just watched her go through like, she's like, no, 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 and then like shock, horror, anger, grief, and then just left the room. I'm like, that was fantastic.
Well, Game of Thrones did such a service, not just because it's so good, but like it took what Lord of the Rings did for fantasy. I was like, oh, you can make fantasy for television and make an adult version. And you could do anything. Like there's so many shows we're getting out of.
Well, I think Game of Thrones is a clever little beast because it disguised itself as like it's kind of fantasy medievally, and then it's like this is a political drama, and then as like the show gets on, it's like there's totally magic.
Yeah. The dragons are coming. It's just that South Park episode.
And it's like, oh, now ice zombies. It's like, okay, how much farther can you raise the bar?
But I know like a lot of people are not liking these last 2 seasons because like, oh, it's so weird. It's like. No, this has always been a weird fantasy show. You just have not been paying attention.
Yeah, they've been building to this since the beginning.
Yeah, I've heard. I've never heard this is so weird, but I have heard. I think the story is getting weaker. I've heard that from people, and I kind of don't disagree with that completely.
Well, I think
it's the climax.
Yeah,
I'm just saying the writing is not as great.
As effective as Cersei is as a villain, I think everyone is sick of seeing her win. Like,
I agree.
We're all just waiting for her to die. We just don't know how.
Yeah. I think. Jamie's totally killing her.
Oh yes, absolutely.
100%.
That's how it's built. It's like the cyclical nature of this world.
Well, and like everything that witch told her when she was little has come true to a T at this point. So it has to happen. God, Tom and suicide is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I'm sorry if that's dark, but like just him opening that fucking door, just going. Bloop.
It's. I feel like they wrote that and were like, this is going to be a meme forever.
And then, like, Cersei reacting to it, like she just stepped into a bathroom that didn't have any toilet paper, was my favorite part of the whole thing. She's like, oh, damn.
Oh, well, she knew it was going to.
Yeah.
The Phantom Zone.
Yeah, you want to pivot over to Flash now? Or no, Supergirl?
I feel like this explains exactly how we feel about these other 2 shows that we just spent 15 minutes talking about Game of Thrones.
I'd rather talk about the show. It's currently not airing.
Yeah, and it says something about how good Era was as well. That like we wanted to talk about other things. Yeah, let's do Supergirl. This episode was fine.
It is fine, but like I'm not into these villains at all.
I'm just not into this season, so I'm okay with this episode being better than the rest of this season. But I'm also like, this season is really bad, and I'd like it to just stop now.
I'd like it to just go away.
I think this season is just a kind of culmination of the problem with having like your lead character being OP
and not knowing how to write for that.
Yes, like there's so much shit you have to do to get around.
Well, and then like sometimes they just forget about the fact that she's indestructible. Like I think in one episode they're like, "Oh no, she's drowning." I'm like, "No, she's not. She can't drown."
You mean like when the Flash, when he forgets that he can run really fast?
I'm going to talk a lot about that in a little while. Okay.
But like this is my problem with these shows, and it's the problem when you have somebody that has god level abilities. You have to, instead of creating a character that can, or doing something with other characters that address that or face that, you have to make them do dumb things.
You have to nerf them to the point where they're stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but you're nerfing them in dumb ways. It's like, I'm just gonna stand still so that you can spit like poison in my face.
Right.
Or
yeah. It's the problem of having a 22 episode season, or in this case,
that is
24.
Yes.
Filler. Although, I don't know. I can't remember how much of Supergirl has been filler. It seems like they have at least been consistent.
As much as I like Jimmy Olsen, I don't care about his side B story love interest.
Every time they try to do something with Jimmy Olsen, it's eye roll inducing.
Yeah.
I feel like they just are like, oh, we need to keep him on the show because he's like a character that's been there since season 1, and if we get rid of him, there's no reason to ever show those sets that we built for Catco.
That's true. That's accurate.
Oh, that's awesome. And I'm pissed that they brought him back as Guardian. I thought we were done with that.
Okay. Here's the thing, and this is where I'm going to get on a little soapbox here. They've already done it, so either get over it or don't. It's the thing of like, okay, we're here already, so either shut up or shut up. It's like the people who are still complaining that Solo is not a Lando movie. Well, they didn't do that. The movie's coming out in 2 weeks, so either watch it or don't, or just keep your mouth shut. I don't care about what ifs or how to's. You know, this is what we're getting. This is what we have. Just live with it and judge it for what it is. So like Jimmy putting on that suit when the moment calls for it, I don't care. If it makes sense for them to put him back in the Guardian suit, fine. It's when they try to force it in like they did in season 2 that it becomes a problem. Of like,
I think that's where that's where the stress of it comes from. Every time I see him in that suit, I kind of just go.
Yeah, but again, this time it made sense.
It was inoffensive this time, but I was much happier seeing him take an arrow to the chest.
It's the same thing that I understand when people are like, "Wait, I should watch Legends because Damien Dark is on it," and like I get that. Like I get they're like, "Oh, Damien Dark," because he completely changed that character. But they just never did that with Jimmy.
Yeah, they changed him to a sorcerer goofball.
Well, yeah, they made him more than just a bad Bond villain, which is what he was.
They made him more than bad wizardman.
Yeah, but if you never watch Legends, Damien Dark is one of the worst characters that ever existed in this universe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
he's just a terrible human being. just awful. But
for like mustache twirl, like for the worst, like there's terrible human beings that make sense for a story, and he's just mustache twirly in a non-ironic way. But like Jimmy is just like he just does things, and his motivation is the goofiest stuff at times. It's like, oh, I'm surrounded by people who are heroes, so I feel bad about myself. Because
they don't have anything for that character to do, they just keep forcing him into these weird situations where you could probably go without him. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know, like, I don't particularly care about him and Lena getting together. I don't give a shit about that.
Well, I mean, it's what happens when, like, if you go back to the first season, the idea of him and Kara being a thing was, like, one of the main focuses of that entire season. And it actually worked, because those two have chemistry with each other.
Yeah, and then in season 2, when they broke up in one episode...
In, like, the first episode, they were like, that's not happening. That's not
like, we went on a date... We went on a date and it was awkward, so
we toads can't do this.
Right, and it's like, okay.
They did the same thing with Wen. Like, she was like, it was like the whole thing of season 1 was like this weird, creepy love triangle. Like, not creepy, but like this weird, awkward love triangle between these three.
Yeah.
Well, that's when the CW stuff gets to be the worst, when they're trying to assault you with multiple romantic angles.
Well, no, so this was when they were on CBS, remember?
Yeah.
So that's right, yeah.
This is when they were trying to, it was so weird because it was a CBS show, but because they knew they were aiming for the CW audience, they tried to make it a CW show.
They just made it like a CW show.
Kind of.
And to connect to something earlier, it was season 1, Jimmy was dating, what's his name's wife? They just said
Lucy.
Joe.
He was dating Lucy.
Yeah.
Lucy.
Lane.
Yeah, Lucy Lane.
Yeah, and that's Channing Tatum's wife.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's right. But yeah,
and I really do think I feel like the biggest problem here, I think I brought this up several episodes ago, was Clarissa Flockhart was the only reason why the Catco stuff. Like, does Kara ever Kara anymore, or is she just Supergirl?
I don't remember her being outside of her super suit in a long time.
Like, the most we've even heard of anything from Catco is in trailers where they quote Cat Grant.
So does she even exist as Kara anymore?
No, because they cut out. Fuck, what's his name? The reporter.
The reporter guy.
But they cut him out completely of this season, and I don't get it because I really like season 2 overall. Like, I like what they were doing. I've said before, I like that they addressed the Trump issue like head on.
Yeah. But they did a lot of that with Calista Flockhart and having what's her name that played Lois, Carrie Hatcher. Like Terry Hatcher and her were like great at the end last couple episodes of that season.
Yeah, well, even before then, when they showed like a car driving down a road in Arizona, and this family being stopped by the police and then being captured and deported in space alien terms, I guess.
The space cop.
So you mean that you lost connection with the show when they abandoned the human element?
I'm saying that, yes, that when they stopped addressing the real world and they decided to play it safe,
that's a really good word to describe Supergirl.
Mm-hmm. It's so safe and it's so
it's risk free.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely risk free.
It's like if you watched Superman 2 and you didn't pay attention to anything deeper or emotional going on in that movie, and you just made that for a whole show. You just addressed the superheroes fighting and punching each other, but you didn't realize what makes that movie still work now.
And like, I think of all these shows, the action on Supergirl is where I tune out the most, because I'm like, it's going to be a lot of flying and punching, and yep, I've seen this 100 times already.
Yeah, if I want to watch mediocre CGI, there's plenty of terrible movies in the past that I could watch and be happy.
Well, okay, so that said, I think the fighting it's only recently gotten bad. The first season,
the first season, her and some dude rip up a highway.
Yeah, and the
you're
second
not
season
impressed
is even good as well. So
you're not impressed with their cape jutsu?
okay. Here's the thing. I hated Mon-El last season, and now he's just boring. It's just like, I don't care. Why are you even here? Why did you get rid of him and then just bring him back immediately?
You gave him an out, and then he comes back like having lived an entire other season of some show we never saw.
Right.
Like,
as bad as he is, Brainiac and Saturn Girl are infinitely worse.
No, okay. Here's the thing. I actually like Brainiac. I like Brainiac quite a bit now, especially since they got rid of the push lights on his head.
You mean when he stopped looking like a Mantalunan from This Island Earth?
Yeah.
Why is he blue?
I don't know.
When has Brainiac been blue?
I wish I had a reason.
It's such a simple thing. Why is he blue and not green?
I don't know.
It doesn't make any sense.
Also, like, okay, I get it. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should.
Also,
yep.
It's not like we haven't already had a live-action version of this exact Brainiac before.
Yeah, and that worked fine. I challenge anybody to tell me that Milton Fine was a dumb idea, or the way that they did Milton Fine was bad. That was
and you can
cool.
listen to me and Alan talk about it when we get to it on
What's
Smallville
weird
Chronicles.
is that we have two Brainiacs on TV right now.
Yeah.
Because
I don't
Brainiac.
Have you watched that show? Because I don't acknowledge it.
I don't want to. That's the best way I can come up with that. I don't care about it.
I literally today was told by my wife's cousin, "Oh, my friends tell me I should watch Gotham," and I was like, "No. Why would you do that to yourself?
God,
why don't you just
damn it.
take a pair of dull scissors and just poke
I voiced my issues about it a long time ago, but I'll do it again. You took what could have been probably an interesting idea, and you went with the most boring, non-interesting angle you could. I don't care. Like, show me life on Krypton in a miniseries. Don't try to make me give a shit about Superman's granddaddy as he tried to prevent the planet from blowing up that I know blows up.
Exactly.
What's the problem with a show like that? When you know the inevitability, there's no stakes.
Like they did a Krypton show about interstellar politics. Like, they mentioned in Man of Steel, for a second, they mentioned the Thanagarians. They mentioned them.
So you mean if they did a sci-fi Game of Thrones?
Yeah. Like, show me a Kryptonian ambassador going to Thanagar and, like, getting killed.
Here. Go to a Kryptonian ambassador trying to prevent a Thanagar-Ran war.
Mm-hmm. I'm in.
I was like, yeah.
Anything involving space, but in a world where Superman and Earth really aren't involved, that sounds fascinating to me. And again, like, we don't know we don't know much about, unless you read the comics, we know nothing about how Kryptonians interacted with the rest of space. That's not a subject that's been covered at all,
And
to my knowledge.
they retcon it a million times over, so it's hard to really know.
Right. But
What
like,
they
Also,
are.
like, what is Krypton's legacy in the larger pantheon of comic books? It blows up. That's all we know.
like,
Yeah, they're a tale that civilizations tell of, like, no matter how good you are, it doesn't matter. Your time comes.
Yeah.
like in any, like in Smallville or in Supergirl or in anything about Kryptonians, when they mention that they're from Krypton, they're like, oh, the Kryptonians died. And then when Clark or Kara says, no, I am a Kryptonian, their faces go into shock or whatever. And that's the extent of their legacy as far as we know on any of these shows.
It is like the Saiyans from Dragon Ball Z, and that like
Right.
they're not really that important beyond Frieza blowing them up.
Yeah, whereas like
Yeah.
that's if we compare them to the Gallifreyans, we know a lot about what the Gallifreyans were in the grander scheme of the universe. They were seen as like these cosmic, gatekeepers who would show up on a planet and just wreck shit if they didn't like what you were doing.
Yeah, and that's the thing with the Saiyans is that you don't want to follow this race. They're a bunch of rabid animals that Frieza would unload on a planet and then call it a day. And then their planet wasn't even their planet; they just took it over. Like,
yeah,
I would say almost in a way, like, the Saiyans are the inverse, but have the exact same outcome. Because the Kryptonians they weren't really physical people. They were the super science nerds that were isolationists, and then they just ignored their stuff and they just blew up.
yeah.
I've always seen it as like the Saiyans and their origin. It's probably the origin of not the Kryptonians, of the Klingons, because I'm sorry, you can believe whatever you want, but I don't believe that the Klingons ever would have made it to space without
Hang on a
stealing
second.
technology.
How did we turn this into Star Trek? But to me, the Kryptonian legacy is always almost like Earth's. They're kind of, if we don't do stuff on Earth a certain way, we will become Krypton.
Right.
That Krypton's almost like future Earth.
But that's the extent of it. Like we know what the Lantern Corps' effect on the rest of the universe is.
Yeah, well, that's the whole problem with the Kryptonians. They're just like an advanced civilization, but there's been many. Like, there's other ones that are more interesting because a random space object doesn't give them godlike powers.
Yeah, but this is not about Supergirl, and specifically this episode anyway.
Well, yeah, because
Here's the thing: this villain collective they had going on. One, most of them are gone now, and two, they're not interesting.
Well,
Rain is least evolved.
they've been absorbed by Rain now, which was I don't.
Yeah.
Why even do the villain collective thing? Why not just have her develop these powers on her own? Because they have to fill 22 episodes.
Also, Odette Yusman is very bad. And trying to buy her as a villain is laughable.
I agree.
Her acting.
I'm just taking a whole bunch of shit on actresses tonight, isn't it?
Her acting is just, especially compared to the other two that she's with, because I don't know who plays the screaming black woman. That sounds really terrible. But like,
that sounds bad. But at least you're at least you're not Mir Connor saying that. So
yes.
I mean, it's slightly better.
I don't remember what her character's name is, but she's the one that screams. And she
Julia. I don't know why I remember that, but it's Julia.
But her scenes, I'm like, oh, I kind of can feel, like, I can see emotion and things happening. And then the other one, she's just so bad.
Oh, with the gold nail one, Pestilence. She is terrible.
She's giving her a 10, and then Sauron is giving a 15.
Yes.
Her like intensity of yelling, I can't. It's undescribable. Like,
yeah, like she's earned the title Porn Sauron with her acting.
Who was the big bad of season 1? Like, who was the major big bad?
Kara's aunt.
Yes.
And her.
So it was somebody else in the cape, wasn't it?
Huh?
It was Kryptonians.
Yeah, it was more. It's more folks in capes. Like, I'm a little sick of the pattern. That's it. It's the speedster problem in Flash, but now I would give a left arm to have a speedster back.
Yeah. But so here's the thing.
It was very similar to season 2. They were basically the exact same villains from Man of Steel.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
they were basically those villains.
But here's the thing: they worked though because they had a point of view, and they had a reason for what they were doing. And by the end of the season, you were kind of unsure because what you learned is that Kara's mother basically tried to send her aunt into or not the Phantom Zone, or into the Phantom Zone because that's where
she tried to send her into the Phantom Zone.
Yeah, and they're twins also. That's the important thing. So it's like
and
sending yourself into the Phantom Zone.
Yeah.
And Kara's aunt loves her, and she's very conflicted. And then the kind of big crux of everything is that it's not Kara that deals with her. It's actually Alex kills the shit out of her.
That I didn't remember that part, but yes, that's true.
Yeah, Alex has a kryptonite katana or like machete.
Oh, yeah. That's so rad.
Remember that mech suit from the finale of season 2, or not from the premiere of season 2? She uses that in the end of season 1, and she's really badass with it.
But what's interesting is that's like not even the penultimate. That's like 4 or 5 episodes before the ending.
Yeah.
And it sends her husband off into like I'm just gonna kill everybody. Like, you killed my wife. Your stupid, shitty human sister.
Yeah. But yeah, that season is great because Kara is conflicted, and she starts to think that her mom is wrong. Like, her mother, who's the person that she like worships, she starts to think that maybe her mother was the bad guy. So
they also deal with the fact that they use a certain thing to write off Superman being able to help.
Yeah, that's okay.
I know it's dumb, but they actually address the fact that there's somebody else in the universe.
I know. I'm trying not to get caught into the weeds.
Season 1 was nauseating because it just kept saying, "My cousin, your cousin. Hey, the guy in the red. Hey, the guy in the blue."
Yeah, but okay. So I understand that though, because if you use it too much, if you just have him show up in episode 1, it feels like cheating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I feel like his appearance in season 2 was earned, and I'm glad that CW is finally like, yeah, you can have one of the nicer toys, for once.
Yeah, it's like a J.J. Abrams not using the original Star Trek music till the end of the 2009 movie. Like,
using him also cheapens her.
Exactly.
To some degree, yeah.
Well, at this point, like I think actually the other side of this coin is the nauseating amount of Batman references across like every show. Like, it's worse than the your cousin, my cousin thing, because at this point, just fucking show him.
Well,
we know he's there now.
Because and people are, nobody's ever actually like told me this, but I think when I say this, people groan. But the last time there was a Batman show, people came away thinking that Batman was goofy and silly. I don't care that it was 40 years ago. That show left an impact on Batman. So the going thought process is, if we do Batman on TV, it will be goofy and silly. And
also,
Gotham has not helped that.
It's Guggenheim is the head honcho, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like if you walked up to like the heads of WB and was like, "Hey, can I have Batman for TV?" They just pull out a gun and shoot him right then and there.
Oh yeah, totally.
I think they don't have the budget to make the costume look good, unless they literally somehow got Ben Affleck's costume to put on someone else.
I think the Superman costume is one of the better costumes across all these shows. I think it's awesome.
But the reason why Superman, to me, is easier because it's simple.
Yeah.
It's just a blue suit with a red ass, and then there's the gold inside, and then he has a red cape. Mm-hmm. Batman has so much dumb shit on him because he has the full and I'm a huge Batman fan, but he has a full cowl with his chin sticking out, and then a crazy cape, and then a utility belt, and boots, and gloves, and
everything about Batman is super extra.
Yes. He was 90s before. He was 90s and 90s.
Why do you have claws on your wrists in case someone swings his sword at me? I don't have much else to say about. I don't have much to say about Superman at this point, aside from the fact that like these villains are bad, and I'm not really into it.
Yeah, I just want this to be over. I feel like I'm in a bad dream.
It's not bad. It's exhausting. Like, I'm just tired of it.
That is safe and exhausting are two good words to start to Supergirl this season. But as far as frustrating, bad, and just downright stupid, the next show, my God, I can't. This show fell off a fucking cliff.
So here's the thing. I need you guys to remind me what happened because I don't remember.
That's really
all
easy.
3 episodes.
Last episode was Therefore She Is, where fucking Gypsy shows up and breaks up with Cisco.
Oh yeah,
Joy!
that episode.
And the episode before that was the episode post Ralph dying with Citizen Cold.
Which actually, that produced one of the best moments, one of my favorite moments this season so far is when Snart is yelling at Barry, like, dude, get up. Like,
yeah, well, because
you're sulking in the middle of a war zone. Get off your ass.
And it literally, his emo-ness is what hurts the bad guy's plan.
Yeah.
He doesn't factor in that people have emotions. But it goes to the problem of Barry as the Flash for the entire series is that unless he's fighting a speedster, the only way he loses is if, he doesn't use his powers and he just stands there like an idiot.
Which frustrated me this episode because he dominates everybody he walks up to in this episode and is on full on like, I'm a speedster. I can literally run around you, disarm you, and probably take off your pants just to embarrass you in the blink of an eye. Mm-hmm. And then suddenly... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, in one scene when Aminette throws metal at some guy and he goes so fast everything stands still and he just grabs the metal.
Yeah,
and then
he
he's
just stops
standing
and grabs it. I'm like, that's the fucking Barry I'm supposed to be watching.
Yeah. And then he almost gets murdered by Eye Snake Guy.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to... Oh, all right, hold on. What the flying fuck? Like, I get metas are weird, but explain that one to me.
But the other thing is, all the Meta's powers, even in this episode, they explain, she was on a plane.
Yeah, it's always semi-circumstantial.
So
and
what
the fuck? Was he being eaten by a Venus flytrap when the fucking particle explorer went off? What is that?
Is he a creepy beach snake guy that like walks around like saying, "Oh, you want to take pictures of me on the beach like with my snake?"
Maybe.
Like, it doesn't make any sense.
I actually have a defense for this. He was working in a Chinese restaurant. I think that explains everything.
That's it. That's
He was working in a Chinese restaurant.
That's like I was frying up an eel and suddenly dark matter.
I don't know. I am everything in Asia but Chinese, but I'm still somewhat offended by your comment.
No, I'm just saying like that's the I'm not about like a real like authentic.
I'm busting your balls, but it's fun.
But no, like a creature like what came out of his eye, the closest thing I can think of is something that comes out of the ocean.
It's like a tape. It's like a tapeworm,
right?
Yeah, it looks like the fucking trilobite from Prometheus.
Yeah,
it has like weird. It has like a weird mouth thing. It's not a snake. It's like a leech.
It's weird. It's very strange.
Just like his
also like
name.
if that's living inside your head, where's your brain?
I don't know.
There's only There's only so much room inside your skull, and it's pretty packed.
And why? Why?
Why is it come out?
Because your special effects team could be like, we can make a snake come out of a dude's eye. Okay.
Here's the thing. This is a character who's been around for a while, but I love that we're just now getting to this. We're just now breaking down.
To like what he can do or what his purpose is. Like all of a sudden, there he is. I mentioned
he drives an El Camino.
Yeah. Katie Sackhoff, who I liked in Oculus, who I liked in Riddick, who I've liked in pretty much everything I see her in, except this. It was especially awful in this.
Yeah.
You did not like her southern accent?
I don't believe any accent she puts on.
I would have preferred that she stuck with the southern accent. I would have preferred that. That was better.
Where is she? I'm going to have to Google, because is she English?
No, she's from Portland.
Why isn't anybody telling her, like, what do you sound like? She sounds like somebody...
Because I think the writers were like, she has a British accent. And then they heard her talk, and they're like, all right, whatever. She's bad, but still has a British accent.
Well,
it would be better if in this episode they're like, they like look her up and like, she's from Oregon? It's like, why is she with a British accent? Like, that would have been perfect.
She's from Maine.
But that would have been an easy, like, one line being like, she's just weird and wants to...
I think her, like, for the first time since meeting her power looks kind of cool because now it's not just... It doesn't just revolve around a stupid glove she makes.
But she
which like,
it's power into
it's so bizarre where it's like, I need my bucket. Like...
Yeah. It's really
But she can also,
odd.
like, fuse her power into like a tennis ball.
Yeah, and then she can summon the shards from a distance and create a tornado that carries her off.
That was so... What the fuck?
That's because they don't have enough of a budget to like have her build a platform to kind of carry her out Magneto style. Because it's all I can think of watching. It's like, why don't you just have it build like a thing you could stand on, just like float away?
Why would you surround yourself into a whirlpool, like a vortex of spinning jagged metal?
I'll give you the answer. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's because it's cheaper to make that effect than to have her stand on something that they have to green screen.
Well, yes, and they already have the CG model for Tornado from Flash season 1.
No,
I swear to God, I thought you were gonna say Man of Steel.
No, but
I actually thought you were gonna say Red Tornado.
No, but they still have that. They still have, that's the same CG model. They just put a man in the center of it.
Yeah.
But they still have that same CG model, and they can just replace the particles of dust and sand with.
You know what it reminded
shards.
me of? It reminded me of the bad guy from Big Hero 6, except worse.
Yeah.
That actually, the villain of that movie is what took me out of it. I was like, oh, he just has machine slime. I think I'm good here.
Well, you're also an adult and it's a child's movie.
Yeah, but I like Disney movies. I don't care. I love Tangled. But there was other stuff happening this episode. Fucking more Caitlin Killer Frost stuff, which I think is being handled a little bizarrely. Because, like, for a long, long time, it was, I have this other side of me that's really nasty and I'm not really sure how to deal with it, to, over the course of a single episode, like, oh my god, I miss her. What?
Yeah.
You mean, so they turned her from having, like, a split personality to it being a completely separate entity?
More or less.
Yeah.
She has to go to therapy to figure it out in the end anyway?
It's real weird.
I feel like that's the answer at the end of the episode. It's like, oh, it's inside me, so are you going
to it's this continued struggle to make everyone in the team have some kind of superpower. Like, for fuck's sake, she's still a psychic, isn't she?
It's not just superpower. It's like they also have to have some sort of thing to be angsty about.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I mean, you remember Petty Cisco, right, from Season 3?
Oh, and don't forget that we had the B team of the Council of Wells.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. I'll never get tired of watching Tom Cavanaugh do what he does. I think he's amazing.
This is the closest I got.
And the fact that he can continuously come up with some other interpretation of this character over and over and over again is mind-boggling to me.
It's pretty good.
It was, except for French Wells. French Wells, I was like, that's lazy.
I mean,
at least Mobster Wells, I kind of got his Andrew Dice Clayness of Mobster.
See, and I have a very strong affinity for Matthew McConaughey Wells because
I love him. He's my favorite.
My deep dark want for the DCEU is that I want Matthew McConaughey to play Reverse Flash, and this is the closest I'm ever going to get.
I would not be mad if that was our Wells next season. I would be pumped.
I've always said he should be Eobard and Wells should be Richard E. Grant. That's always been my pick.
Because I could go for a season where that Wells is trying to consult Iris and Barry on why their relationship has no chemistry.
Oh, you mean McConaughey Wells?
Yeah, McConaughey Wells talking to Iris and Barry and their lack of chemistry.
Yeah.
Oh, you're teasing something I want that I'll never have.
You mean you weren't really interested in her article that she was typing up?
Here's the thing. I almost gave this a pass. I think I kind of did because, like, for the first time in what feels like a long time, she's doing something outside of just standing in Star Labs and just pushing buttons and kind of acting like an authority on stuff. I'm like, oh, she has a job that she's willing to get up in the all hours of the night to go do.
I agree. I think that they're moving in a better direction with her.
She came off as legitimately helpful because she's like, yeah, I'm gonna go do this. Yeah, just go get coffee and stuff. I'll do this. I'm like, that's actually the most efficient use of her I've seen all season.
Yeah, she made a blog and people are tweeting them sightings of a guy.
Yeah.
Which we didn't have any DeVoe this episode.
Yeah.
Which I'm okay with, I guess.
This was more okay, and that's a problem. I saw this brought up in a YouTube video. This season has been tremendous amounts of filler.
It has, because again,
and this
24 episodes.
Yeah,
I would say there's like a good 10 episodes of non-filler.
Yeah, and everything else has been completely inconsequential.
Yeah. 10 episodes and then the crossover, and otherwise everything else could be cut.
Because DeVoe, our big development was not this episode, but the episode before, where his wife finally leaves him and Car Jackson or Chair Jackson.
Yeah. And here's the thing.
I'm still not okay with this plan of like making everyone dumb or basic so that they come to him. I'm like, dude, people would already come to you right now. Like you're sitting on the fucking mountaintop right now. And as far as raw intelligence goes, like you don't need to do this. It's completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
I just want to say I watched a movie today that involved a guy becoming a super genius and then wanting to embrace everyone, bringing them into this new technological world and leading them into the future. This movie was made in 1992, and it was called Lawnmower Man.
No.
God damn it.
It haunts me.
But
the special effects were not too bad for.
Okay, what are you talking about? What are
he Thanos 3 different characters.
You mean when he sets that man on fire with pixels?
I watched it with my wife and mother-in-law, and they were like, "Wait, what's going on?" I'm like, "I think he's setting that guy on fire." They're like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Wait, yeah, I think that's fine. I think that's supposed to be fine."
I like how his super virtual reality powers are basically just monkey's paws. Like, well, he takes the fucking CEO talking head, whatever, the dude from Breaking Bad, and just like turns him into a floating monitor. I'm like, that's kind of a weird genie-esque punishment.
Yeah. He has a weird British, almost French, like some sort of amalgam European accent.
Yeah, that movie's really everything about that movie is really bizarre. And if you watch or listen to the How Did This Get Made episode on it, they describe it as uncomfortably rapey at times. And then I watched it again. I'm like, oh, it is. Like everyone's like, hey, dumb guy, come into my basement and play some video games. It's okay. And don't tell anybody.
It's like reverse rapey in a way because it's not guys trying to rape a woman. It's everyone's trying to rape this mentally challenged guy, including a woman. Yeah,
everyone's trying to take a crack at him. It's really bizarre.
He has sex with a 40-year-old woman. She's checking out her mentally challenged landscaper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That movie's very strange. It's inevitably going to happen in a movie. Dumb Straight can't wait.
I swear, please let me know. I have seen it. I watched it today. It stars a guy who was in the Thomas Crown Affair.
The movie Dumb Straight episode is going to be very crowded because I've reserved a spot on that episode as well.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, how many years before Thomas Crown Affair was this? Oh, it was only 7. Okay.
There's one joke from the How Did This Get Made episode where it's like the reason his wife leaves him, she's like, "You won't take me to the city," and he's like, "Yeah, I don't want to," and she's like, "Well, bye." Like, gets up and leaves and just exits the film.
Yeah, and then
never seen her again.
Like the day after, like his neighbor's the abusive husband gets killed by a lawnmower, he leaves with the wife and child.
Yeah, he's like, "Hey, you're my family now."
Yeah.
Anyway, Flash. So.
But yeah, DeVoe's plan is dumb. It's almost like the equivalent
like
of nuking the entire planet and then forming your own society afterwards out of random people, and then calling yourself God.
This would honestly make more sense if it was several other characters. Like if it was Grodd, and this was his way of having apes take over the world.
See, it makes way more sense for Grodd to make humans dumb.
Yeah.
I could forgive it because it would make more sense. Or any of the other, like, gorilla characters that exist in DC Universe, which there's several.
Yeah.
But also, again, with the same... We've been asking this question for months now. It's like, why did you need all these metas?
No, okay, he needed it because they wrote scenes months ago where he uses these powers. I've said this many times.
Yeah, no, I know you said it, but it still doesn't make it make sense.
No, it does make sense because the writers wrote a thing and they're like, well, how do we justify him having these powers? He stole it from a meta. But why does he steal it?
Where there's a giant statue of a eagle.
Right.
Because that he needs to bring to life.
No, in a future scene, there's going to be a point where he needs to turn something that is not alive. That's going to happen.
My other thing is, at this point, why is it worse for Barry to just travel back in time and...
Okay, here actually, I think Arlen and I are about to say the same thing.
Yeah.
There are production stills from the finale out, and it's full-on floating chair DeVoe against Barry at the bus where the metas were created.
Yes, and also, they need to explain the opening of the season. Because remember...
Cisco didn't bring him back from the Speed Force.
And also, cause they still haven't answered... they have answered what that language was. It's DeVoe. It's DeVoe's, weird, quantum math or whatever.
When really, I feel like I missed that.
Yeah, the past scene, like they throw it away. He's writing on a computer in like his own weird DeVoe math, like his own version of calculus.
Guess I just stopped caring at that point.
Well, no, they just don't. They don't. They're throwing things out there and they're not explaining them because as we've talked off Mike. At some point when Kreisberg left, the guy who was co-running the show had to take the reins. And I don't think he knew everything Kreisberg was planning to do. I think.
We've also glossed over a big revelation from a few episodes ago or last episode. Coffee Shop Girl's a speedster.
Yes.
Yeah, she's Barry's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
There's just no other explanation. She's Barry and Iris's kid.
Yeah, or she's Joe and Francine's kid.
I don't know. I don't get how she would have speed powers unless they're making her.
I mean, in Wally's first appearance in season 2, we have no idea how he's going to get powers either. So,
and then he gets them in the most roundabout way possible.
Yeah,
we only know because his name was Wally West.
Well, yeah, but it's like we didn't know how though. Like we had no idea the how. So it could be very easily that Barry's younger sister. Is that what she would be?
No, she'd be Iris's younger sister.
Yeah, Iris's younger sister. She could totally get Speed Force powers, but it doesn't matter whose kid she is, really. Because in this family, any of them getting Speed Force powers, it's just...
I still think if they actually had a pair on them, they would introduce the other Wally West at the end of the season.
Yeah, but that gets
because at this point, who cares? Timeline is so screwed up at this point.
Well, it's so easy too. You have an out. It's just Earth 5.
Yeah, I think that.
No, I wouldn't even say that. I would say he's Wally West from the original accurate timeline.
Yeah, but okay. The problem is you have to explain that though. Like you have to.
They can explain anything at this point.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that people are gonna want to go with it. Like there's a certain. Audiences are smart to an extent.
Yeah, and I think trying to tell casual people, because the casual people, this is the only timeline they've ever known. Like, this is how The Flash was made, definitely. When the reality is, this show is technically a side path of the main DC continuity where Barry becomes The Flash way sooner than he's supposed to.
This is an alternate version of Earth 1.
This is the fourth alternate version of Earth 1.
Yeah.
Well, yes, it's a diversion of a diversion.
You would need, at this point, if you're going to do that, I think you need an entire season to build up the idea of, you'd have, Thawne would either have to be present or his influence would have to be really heavily discussed and harped on because, he's essentially the one who did all this.
Well, you need a whole season where you're just, having things from the original universe bleed through. You're having...
Yeah, okay. You saying that just sold me on it because... I read the Flash book, and they're dealing with that right now. And I don't know if you guys are reading Flash.
I keep up with it, but I think I'm a little behind right now.
I've heard about it.
Because they are setting up a Flash war, and they are dealing with Wally getting bleeds of pre-New 52 universe.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the stuff going on in the Flash comic is fucking fascinating right now, and I know a lot of people are like, stop making speedsters, when in the comic they keep making speedsters, and it's awesome, because it's been happening organically, and everyone they've had who is a speedster has been pretty great.
Yeah.
And now Hunter Zolomon is coming back into the main continuity. That's fucking nuts.
They actually split up Hunter Zolomon and Zoom, so there's now Reverse Flash and Zoom are once again separate entities.
And they're following up on the end of Flash Rebirth, the graphic novel, because that was years ago, where Zolomon is in his cell. He's like, Professor Thawne, I have an idea that may be mutually beneficial for the two of us.
Yes, this last issue is directly that. It covers all that. And then it leads into several months ago when Iris killed Reverse Flash.
Yeah. I'm counting the seconds that go by until he comes back again, because he died 3 times in the same arc this past year. So,
Eobard? Eobard. Yeah.
Eobard. Oh my god, he got, what is it? He still remembers being killed in Flashpoint, which in this point was fairly recently for everybody involved in that. He wakes up and then he's killed by Dr. Manhattan, presumably, and then he gets back up, and then he's killed by Iris.
Time remnants.
Yep.
Well, we were joking about this on Facebook the other day that, like, even in the show, like, Eobard has just temporal duplicates lying all over the fucking place.
Yeah, well, I think they actually addressed it in the comic, but they're like, yeah, they've done so much time traveling that they're just out of time. They're just so out of sync. But at any given point, one point of them is somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like, I always tried Thawne as like a bug. He's a bug you can't squash. Like, you step on one, and then he's going to pop up 2 seconds later going like, ha! I knew you were going to do that!
Yeah, the only other thing I could hope that would save this season is somehow the creation of the negative Speed Force.
That's what I've been saying the whole time, but I don't know if they're going to do that.
I know.
No.
You sold me on it.
And I also feel like, they've just kind of, I feel like Thawne is too important to just totally abandon. And I have this sneaking suspicion that we're never really going to get a proper payoff to, like, all this weird, vague references to all the battles they had as Barry, came along. Because in Crisis on Earth X, doesn't he say, like, come on, after all the times you've killed me, what's one more?
Yeah, he does say something like that.
Yeah. I think we'll get more of that stuff at some point.
I think it's kind of the problem both Flash and Arrow have right now is that Arrow in a good way has built up their bad guy so much, and you're like, how are you going to wrap this up in a couple, like 1 or 2 episodes?
Yeah.
And then Flash, you built up so much trash, how are you going to clean up this mess in 1 or 2 episodes?
Well, and Flash looks like it's going to be the same thing it did for season 2 and season 3. And as much as I actually like season 2, like, they wrap that shit up with a ribbon in a few minutes.
Yeah. They
have a literal foot race, which is still just the dumbest thing.
That's the only part of season 3 that's awesome is the ending.
Yeah, it's a very well
it's
done.
It's a speedster battle royal where, like, Jay Garrick, Jesse Quick, I'm pretty sure Wally shows up, and Barry are all beating on Savitar.
Yeah, it's a 3-on-1, and you get to see them just wreck house.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty well done.
And then they had to. I like the fact they had to nerf Savitar the rest of the season after his initial appearance because he shows up and throttles Barry so hard. If he did that again, there'd be just no believing them beating him.
Yeah.
But no, I feel like I feel like we're going to get another, like, because season 2 ends in a foot race wrapped up in a few minutes. Season 3, fucking Iris shoots Savitar in the back and he just fades away. And then there's the whole third. And there's the whole third act of season 3 where the Speedstorm happens. But I feel like this is going to be, like, in maybe 25 minutes, Bear wraps up the entire villain arc by just beating him, and then we'll get, like, maybe some, like, 15 to 25 more minutes of stuff for season 5.
That's my problem with the show is they take elements from the comic that's going on at the same time. Like, the Speedstorm happened around the same time.
Around the same time the comic book did.
They don't use the interesting part of it, because the interesting part in the book is that a shit ton of people get super speed powers.
Yeah.
And Barry's like,
oh
what am I?
Half the city is a speedster.
Yeah, and he's like, you guys gotta stop. You're gonna destroy the entire universe. Like, you can't just run around this fast.
Yeah.
And then there's
like him and Star Lab set up that entire speedster training program to teach all these kids who have speech powers to, like, how to properly use it.
He's bringing in people who want to be good, and then he's trying to, like, capture all the guys that are bad to have them.
Yeah, and this is ultimately how Godspeed happened, because Godspeed kills a whole bunch of them and steals their speed force.
Yeah.
Yes. It also creates a interesting version of how they did the negative speed force.
I mean, the big thing is, because Connor actually sent me a video about this storyline. They don't have the budget to do that many speedsters on screen at the same time. They just don't. They don't
have that many airplanes and stuff.
I would happily take an abridged version, or at least, like, a light version of the Godspeed story, if you just focus on all the stuff between him and Barry.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is,
the problem is, I think we talked about it. It would take an entire season of setup to even make that worthwhile.
Yeah, the problem is you couldn't use August Hart. It would have to be somebody who has been around for a long time. I think, Arlen, you pitched Singh.
Yeah,
which I think is the most interesting
Singh would be interesting. If Julian stuck around this season, it would have been interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, you still introduce August Hart, but again, you do a Adrian Chase thing with him. So
yeah, but the problem is Barry's not even a cop right now. So
well, yeah, but I mean, you set up a character who you think is one thing, but he's absolutely not. But again,
and that's actually one of the things about season 1 I like so much is they gave you a few different options as to who, because I had people at like, because as I introduced people to season 1, as they were watching, they're like, hang on, the Reverse Flash is Eddie. I'm like, no, but good eye. Even to people who aren't comic book fans, it seems weird. But his last name is Thawne. He's deliberately set up to distract you.
Well, that's what in that story they set up in the Speedstorm story. There's not one bad guy. There's 2 villains that come out of that story.
Yeah, there's the entire Black Hole organization.
I was
referencing... It's Raiden? I think is that one?
No, the other one.
Oh, Mina. Oh, yeah, Mina.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mina becomes the Negative Flash, where she...
Yeah.
Well, I like how they've adopted, like... I know the show gets ridiculous with how Barry uses his powers, but in the comics, Barry rips the Speed Force out of Thawne's body and steals it. I'm like, hold on, wait, you can do that?
I think I can't remember. Does he rip it out of him? But then Thawne's like, "Oh, you want that? Take this too."
He literally grabs like a big red ghost and pulls it out of Thawne's body.
So wait, like the end of Ang Lee's Hulk movie?
Yes,
kind of.
That's how Iris.
And then we
Iris
get like
shoots him.
Yeah, and then Iris shoots him right afterwards. And then we get my least favorite part of the whole thing, where Barry's running around and like every time he uses the Speed Force, like his costume gets a darker tinge of red, and he's got like black fingertips, and he's just pissed off at everybody. I'm like, this isn't fun. This is it.
They Black Venom suited Barry.
That was so.
That's literally what they did. Yeah.
He goes dancing to win over Iris.
No, it's like I think I've shown you guys. Oh, I've totally shown you the art from this comic. It's the one where he looks like fucking Stewart. And everyone's different sizes and different panels, and Barry looks like he's 7 years old.
Yeah.
The only thing that's good though is the payoff at the end of that is so good, because when you find out it's Mina has connections to Barry, Wally, and then the jail China character.
Yeah, Avery is the other speedster they created. She's
part
of the Chinese Justice League.
Yeah. Because she was the other person training everybody. Yeah. And then she's the only survivor of Godspeed.
Yeah, and now I like the fact that like Barry has his own little Speed Force unit of like him, Godspeed, Wally, and Avery. Although Godspeed disappeared, so I don't really know what's going on.
Well, they're blowing it up already because they're setting up the Flash War with him and Wally.
Yeah.
But you can tell how good this show is because now we're talking about comics.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about how this show could be better if it pulled a little more from the comics and not just cherry-pick big events and kind of just made them feel really flat. I still think the Flashpoint episode is good in a vacuum because I think the performances from Barry and Matt Letcher are awesome.
And the actress that plays the mom. I think
she's always... I really enjoy whenever she shows up. I think actually the end of season 1 where he travels back and then he has to watch her die all over again is heartbreaking. But Matt Letcher's screaming at Barry like about who's the villain now, and he's like, "You're an idiot! Like the guy I know from the future is way smarter than this." That stuff's great, but then the lasting effects are just laughable. Yeah. Oh no, Cisco's brother died, and he's gonna be upset about it for an irrationally long amount of time and blame Barry, even though Barry didn't drive the car that killed him.
And then after so many episodes, we're just gonna ignore that ever happened.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah, the effects of Flashpoint have now been effectively forgotten.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't even bring up the fact that Diggle
except maybe every time Diggle looks at his kid and he's like, "Huh."
I don't even think he does that anymore. I think he's just forgotten.
No, his only reaction is that when Barry grabs him, he pukes.
Yep.
Yeah. Which realistically, if you think about that, like, he had a son before he had a daughter, or a daughter before he had a son?
I don't remember.
Daughter. It was daughter, and then it became a son.
The problem is,
if you told someone in real life, like, "Hey, I know yesterday, like, you had this kind of a kid, but now you have this kind of a kid because I fucked up," like, would you be able to go home and look at that kid in the face and be like, like,
but the thing is,
are you?
He has no memory of it, so does it even matter?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, yeah.
And we also saw this kid in the future in season 1 of Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah, but John didn't see that, so I
so it doesn't matter.
And we also saw Deathstroke's other son.
Well, they did set him up. They set him up actually at the end of Deathstroke's episode, because the Joey says that he has another son, and Deathstroke is like, "Wait, what? I have another son?"
Yeah,
I didn't know about this.
whichever one we saw in Arrow, I think is the one that dies
Yeah.
in the comics. I don't remember.
Yeah, I think
That's
so.
not something I'm very knowledgeable
Yeah,
about.
Deathstroke has 3 kids. The oldest one always gets murdered because of him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the middle one gets his throat slashed, but he survives.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a mute. He's a mute, but he has meta powers. He can like possess people.
Damn.
It's really weird.
Mm.
And then he has a best.
I think we can start.
Yeah. There's one breaking news story. We don't have to go into it too deep. But Kevin Feige did announce that they will be doing Kamala Khan as Ms. Marvel. So that's a story that came out today. You can find that.
To echo Andrew Littler, I can't wait to drink a big heaping glass of conservative tears.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Did he say where they're doing this? Is it in the movie?
No, he basically
movie?
was like, after Captain Marvel launches, after it happens, they will be working on Kamala Khan. They're working on it now, but they're waiting till after she launches and she's had, probably Infinity War before they announce an actress or what movie she'll first show up in. Although I think they'll probably hint at her in an end credit scene, probably.
Yeah, because to me, it's like, are they going to do her in a movie or a TV show?
I mean, my best guess is it will be like Winter Soldier, and
if it's from Feige, it's movies.
Yeah.
I'm sure if someone asked, like, hey, is this movies or TV? He just look at him and go,
well, I mean, we know it's movies because, as I've said, him and I don't like each other because there was a Game of Thrones-esque twist within the Marvel writing rooms or within the Marvel offices where Feige deposed Ike from running the movie side of things.
I love the idea of like Kevin Feige going to the principal and being like, "Can you get him to leave me alone?"
Yeah, I mean that's basically what happened.
It's they went to Papa Disney and was like, Ike won't keep his toys on his side of the room.
Ike is telling me to make Inhumans, and Brian Michael Bendis is telling me that this character can't do this. I want to run it all on myself, so can I? And then he said,
know what I'm doing, Dad.
Basically.
At this point, he's like, my movie made as much money as Justice League in 3 days.
Yeah, although I think it's worth mentioning now because there might as well be a formal announcement on it. The Inhumans was officially canceled.
Yep.
I thought that happened last year.
Well, now there was no press release about it. They just quietly the show, and then just nothing. And then
I think I commented on it that I'm pretty sure after the episode, like the first 2 episodes premiered on ABC, all their stuff changed from series to miniseries.
Yeah, I think
so it's been dead in the water.
A limited television event or something like that.
This was like them announcing that the dodo is extinct.
Yeah, Dead thing is dead.
Yes.
I mean, it could have been worse. I've seen shows that get canceled and like the rest of their episodes run in a block in one day and just gets wrapped up and never spoken of again.
There's only, I think of all the shows that just got announced canceled, there's only one I watch, and I'm half glad it's canceled because it was getting preposterous. And that was the fake 24.
Oh, yes. Not 24. 23.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, because there was just, I can't remember what the actress on it is from. I think they did like a La Femme Nikita reboot at some point, and she was the character.
Oh, boy.
And she is terrible in that show. And I'm just like, can we just write this character off because the rest of the show is good? And no, she ruined it.
Yeah, but Inhumans was officially canceled. I hope we never hear from Scott Buck ever again.
Yeah.
We won't. So I think we can wrap up on that. There's really not much else to say on the subject. So
yeah, that was a CW for this week.
Rousing reviews. I'm Connor McGraw. New episode of Movie Dumpster is out. It's the Runestone. It's one of my favorite episodes we've ever done. It's really funny, and our impression game is really on fire.
Yeah, I listened to it yesterday.
Yep.
I was laughing at my own impression of the old man voice because I couldn't believe that came out of me. And then I'm listening to me choke on my own impression. I'm like, yeah, I remember that part of being very painful.
All I was doing was yelling at my stereo, being like, God damn it, play God of War. So I'm like, Tyr, you're giving me flashbacks. Yeah. I'm like, oh yeah, Fenrir is Loki's son, but he's a wolf.
Yeah.
Goddamn weird Norse mythology.
comics.
Well, comics made Norse mythology make more sense.
Yeah, or not comics. Yeah, mythology. AA Haro and all the places. I'm still on Vero because now apparently I'm the only one though. So
He is the only one left.
I made one. I posted
me and
one.
Zack Snyder were the only ones on Vero, I guess. So
Yeah. I signed up for it and I was like, "Oh, is anybody here?" And then I just heard my own echo.
You walk up to someone and like, the fire's still warm.
Yeah. Lost Haro podcast that comes out just about every Friday. Go listen to our Catherine Bigelow episode. It's out now. We talk about Strange Days. Warning, that movie is extreme, and we talk about some very graphic things.
It's really weird.
Yeah, and the only scene I've ever seen that made me so disturbed that I almost turned my TV off happens in that movie. And it's unexpected, and I'm telling you, I'm warning you about it, but you still won't see it coming. That's how crazy it is. So go watch that and then listen to
my
the
God,
podcast.
dogs. Sorry, the dogs will not shut up today. Oh my God.
It's awesome. It's fine.
Lou, got any plugs? Any
Yes,
plugs?
I actually have plugs. So I'm Lou Gonzalez. Me and Alan started a side podcast, which you can catch on the Phantom Zone thread. Oh, man, chaos. That is the Smallville Chronicles, where we're watching Smallville again, which is actually a good show from Warner Brothers and CW, and you get to see an actual amazing Jonathan Kent.
Yeah.
It's
about 6 seasons of good content in there. in
Oh,
a
yeah,
10-season show.
Yeah, this show, it is so weird to watch a show from 2001, because I think the third episode we
Okay,
did...
I gotta run because I don't know what the hell's going on with the dog, so this is my heart out. Bye, everybody.
Yeah. Bye.
Yeah, episode 3, they were filming when 9/11 happened, so that's how long ago this was. But it is a great show, and we have some cool episodes. We're trying to do 2 a week. But
Wow.
check it out.
That's
Smallville
ambitious.
Chronicles. Well, there's 10 seasons of show to get through.
Right. I'm glad you and Alan have something. I'm glad Alan has something to do. So yeah. Go listen to that. It's part of the Phantom Zone family. So yeah. Otherwise, this has been your Comics on TV Phantom Zone. So bye.
Hashtag not my Jonathan Kent.
Bye.